Welcome to the Barron's Hideout Podcast. I'm your host, Dustin,
And I'm your co-host, Aaron.
and today we have a very special guest, Rebekah Kennedy, who has starred in a lot of stuff. You've been in TV shows, movies, small roles, big roles, all over the place. And I feel like I've seen you in a lot of things, but I think this movie, to me, I think this might be your biggest role. Would you agree on that?
Um, I guess one of, yeah. I mean, Bastard, I have a pretty good role,
Yeah.
one of the leads. But yeah, I mean, this is definitely a great role. And thanks so much for having me, by the way.
Yeah, it's our pleasure. I mean, this is a huge milestone on our part too. Like we've interviewed a lot of people, but nobody like to your caliber with like bigger like actors and like directors and stuff like that. So like you're our first one, and it's a little nerve wracking, but it's definitely a good milestone. And thank you for agreeing to come on.
Yeah, no, please don't be nervous. I'm cool.
um, but so what brought you to this film? Like, what was a director that reached out to you? Was this something that you saw that they were looking for actors for, or did you see a script beforehand? You're like, oh, this looks really really cool, and I want to be part of this. So what brought your attention to it?
Yeah, so I kind of came in late in the process. The other actor, Christina, who plays my roommate, who's amazing, reached out to me and said they were looking to fill the role of Masha and would I be interested? And so they sent me the script and I read it and I thought, wow, what a fun, badass character. I've not played a villain in a horror film yet. So
Yeah, and you
yeah, a fun departure from what I've done.
yeah.
I thought she was so cool and I've never played a witch. So I was like, yeah, I'm totally in. The director looked over my stuff and yeah, and then I was filming pretty quickly after that. So it was kind of a quick process, but I'm so thrilled to be involved. It was so fun.
Yeah, we saw this like I said part of the Salem Horror Fest that was premiered there. So Pierre and Brandon, right? I think it was Pierre and Brandon. I think were the two like writers and directors on it. Aaron has the IMDb up too, so we can always go and reference that. But yeah, they were there. They were super cool. I didn't really have a lot of time to go and talk to them, but they were kind of describing it, and they were like, "Oh wow, this like it was really cool to work with American like actors and actresses and everything." I was like, "Well, I didn't realize that they never did that before." And I guess this is kind of like their first big thing,
Right.
and it was really fun. Like I liked how it was like separated in like different parts. You don't come into a part two and like it just ramps up like as soon as you are introduced, like the tension that you bring and just the overall feeling of dread also whenever you're there and really messing up, like the other characters like life and everything, you live with them is crazy. um and I enjoyed the hell out of this. I'm going to be watching it again because it's going to be part of the virtual part of Salem Horror Fest. So on Friday
Yeah.
I'm going to be watching again. Aaron's going to be watching it again. But yeah, I enjoyed this film a lot, and I really hope you do more stuff like this because this totally feels like you. Like you were in this role, like completely. Is there anything that you would want to address, Aaron? Any questions?
Yeah, I do
or
want to
anything?
mention that the producer is Maxime, in case.
Oh, okay, okay. I know there
Yeah,
was a
no,
couple of other
no
people that
worries.
were
I didn't want to.
involved.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
Um,
All good. They're awesome. Awesome guys. Thank
yeah,
you so much. By the way, yeah, thank you.
yeah, no problem.
but like we had mentioned earlier, you've had all kinds of different roles. A few horror roles. Was horror always something you've been drawn to, or like, like we always into that and type of stuff? Oh,
You're
shit.
good.
Like, do you feel pulled to horror in particular, or what I mean? Like,
Yeah, it's interesting. I didn't necessarily set out as an actor to be in horror films.
Mhm.
I love them. I grew up watching them. My first horror film was the It miniseries when I was 11.
Oh wow, that's a good one to start off with.
Yeah, watching it at a friend's birthday party and scarring her for life, for sure. Not sure why they let us rent it, but 90s, right?
Yeah,
Um,
exactly. Times are different now.
so yeah, so yeah, so I love watching them. I love going to haunted houses. I love all things Halloween. But
Awesome.
it wasn't necessarily like, oh, I want to necessarily be in them. Film and TV kind of came later in life. I started out doing theater, so obviously like theater is much different. You don't have this
Oh, yeah.
kind of genres as you do with film. But yeah, and so when I started doing film, I started auditioning, and horror films were kind of the first things I booked that were big. House Hunting was the first big feature I did in Virginia. And then I did Creature and Season of the Witch with Nicolas Cage.
Yeah, that one I've definitely seen. The other ones I've heard of, but Season of Witch I think was probably the first one I saw with you
Yeah.
in it.
So, that was kind of what landed first, and I loved it. I loved filming. I loved being involved. They're a lot of fun to do. So now that I have done them, I continue to look for ones that I want to be in, different kinds of roles, smart scripts, things like that, while doing other projects as well. But I'll probably, as long as I can, keep doing them as well, because they're a lot of fun, and especially when they're really smartly written and great characters, it's hard to say no.
Yeah, and this one definitely has a lot of that, with all the different stories interlinking, linking together, and yeah, I really agree on that. Like, horror is definitely something that a lot of people don't usually find themselves getting into, but once they start doing it, they want to continue to do it. Is what I've heard from a lot of other actors and even directors. That like, well, this is definitely not something I was like seeking out to do, but now that I'm doing it, it's fun. And I'm sure compared to like any other like genre film that you've been doing, I feel like horror is a little bit more lenient with the things that you can do. Like say like a comedy or something, you have to be kind of like stricter on that. That's how I view it anyway. But maybe that's not the case. But yeah, I feel like with horror you can get as crazy as you want, and this film definitely has some crazy stuff in it. With the baby eating. Oh.
Yeah.
That's so cute.
Yeah, she's not.
Now, how did the filming experience differ from because I saw that you had a couple like roles in like shows like Law and Order, Criminal Minds, stuff like that. How different was the experience filming a movie like this to probably like smaller roles in like shows like that? How I mean, like how different?
Yeah, just how different it was.
Yeah, honestly, it wasn't terribly different, because TV moves quickly, right? We have to film.
Oh yeah.
42 minutes with commercials in 7 to 8 days, depending on what their schedule is. For SVU, I worked all 8 days.
Oh wow.
So it was a lot. It was intense. This film moved very quickly because lower budget films often don't have the you're not filming for 6 months, so you don't have 20 takes to get it right, so it's
exactly.
Sometimes you just gotta settle for the one that's
right. So it's not terribly different in that respect, that you really need to bring it the first take, and then you get some other ones, of course, but you don't get a ton of time to figure out what you're doing, which is, as an actor, you just come prepared, knowing your lines, knowing your character, knowing what you're wanting to do, and then you just get to play, which is awesome. So yeah, it's, TV definitely prepared me for moving quickly, because you don't have
just having that time restraint.
Yeah. I feel like that's a good thing though. Being able to like time management yourself and realize like, okay, I'm going to be under pressure. I've done this before. We have to move this quick. I've done the TV, so I know what it's like to do that. Obviously, it's a movie, so it's a bigger scale. But yeah, that's good that you're kind of getting that and not feeling too pressured.
Yeah, it's funny because you do the first. I always try to do what I'm going to do in the first take, and then it's like, oh, I get another one. Awesome! Like, you never know. Sometimes you don't. If things are moving quickly and they got what they got, and they like it. So it's an interesting. But yeah, of course, with film, you have more days. You're not filming a feature film in 7 days for sure.
That would be nuts. I mean, I'm sure there are films out there that people have done it, but they're probably not the best product. But
yeah, that would be intense.
Like 24/7, just keep going. Don't stop.
Yeah, for sure.
Never out of character.
That would be a horror film in its own.
Yeah, no. Behind the scenes of a 7-day shoot.
Have a camera guy following the camera guy.
Yeah. Hey, let's start on that. Let's do it. Write the script. But I wanted to ask is, because there's a lot of like, throughout this whole film, there's a lot of like facial movements with all the characters like really exaggerated and really crazy shots. Was there a lot of like makeup you guys had to do? Like how long were like the makeup like production?
Sessions.
Like did you have to go through? Was it more than one day, or did you guys knock it all out in one day?
Yeah, so to try to avoid some spoilers for people that
Yes,
haven't seen it yet,
true.
the end, if you know what I'm talking about, you probably
Yeah,
know what I'm talking about. That required a lot more prosthetic time. That was probably 2 hours or so. But mostly, the rest was mostly, sadly or great, are us.
hmm.
A lot of the faces were not done with any prosthetics. They were just done with our own exaggerated facial expressions that we,
Just seeing how
uh,
far you could take it.
yeah, practiced with Pierre in the shot,
Wow.
in the mirror, just to see how what we could come up with in the moment, and what worked and what didn't. So, which is awesome. I love that a lot of the film, most of the film is practical effects and not
We
CGI.
love that. Like we
Yeah,
like CGI too when it's used, when it where it has
Has
to be
its place,
used and
yeah.
not just used just in place of everything. So yeah, I really do respect that a lot at this film.
yeah, I love that. It's like silly things that when you're filming, seem so silly, and then you watch it and you're like, oh, that works so well. Like,
Yeah,
blowing out a candle with my mind is like someone on the side of the set doing this
yeah,
with, you know,
yeah.
a
There's
cardboard to try
a
to get
lot
it
of
to go.
great shots in this film. Like
Yeah,
we
so
don't want to really spoil much of anything or anything at all, but movie is it's very dark. It is, but the lighting is so well done, and I was reading that a lot of it was just done with like literal like candles and very like low lights. Like how is that working with like low lighting sets compared to like the TV where everything's like super bright and
You got
yeah,
lights
lights in your
everywhere.
face. Yeah.
it's interesting because you don't really know what it's going to look like until you see the monitor, because it's
Yeah,
very different sitting in the scene, and then you go and you look at and you're like, oh wow, that's so, because you feel like, oh my gosh, this is so dark, like how are you going to see anything?
yeah,
And then you look at the monitor, like, oh, you see fine. Yeah, it's an interesting and adds a really nice moody setting to the film with the lighting. And Pierre is just he's brilliant, he's a genius
yeah.
with all of
I
that.
really agree with this, especially how this movie came out. It's really fun. I can't wait for everybody to see it.
Me too. Me too. Finally.
Yeah,
Not it actually hasn't been that long since we filmed it, but
yeah. I think this was also shown at what Grimfest, right? I think that it showed it over there. So that's it's good
yeah.
that it's getting the exposure now. I wasn't. I don't know if I read up, but do you know how long it was taking for the whole process, like writing and shooting? How long it was for this movie to get done? I don't think I
So,
saw that anywhere.
yeah, so I don't know how long it took him to write the film, but I know for us, for chapter two anyway, we started in January of 2020.
Oh yeah, I
So
remember him saying that it was during
yeah,
the pandemic.
and
Yeah.
we were shut down obviously with the
Hmm.
pandemic, and then we finished the rest of the film at the end of 2020. Yeah, so actually, considering an independent film, he's gotten it out really quickly, because sometimes you wait years for
Yeah.
film to come out. So I'm thrilled that, especially with the pandemic, that was able to edit and do everything and get it out for festivals so quickly for people to be able to see, which is amazing. Not sure how long it took writing though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe I might actually reach out to him and maybe we can get an interview with him too. That'd be really cool.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure. Facebook would be down.
There's a lot of stuff that we're still like doing in the background from like because there was so much going on at the fest. I wanted to talk to everybody, and you were the first one that like really popped out. Like liking and like commenting on everything. I was like, oh, that would be really cool. I wonder if we can get Rebekah on and just see how it was with her filming this
I
and get
appreciate
like
you.
the
You
actor
just
point
doing
of
that.
view. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I really do thank you for coming on and doing this because this is really fun. And is there anything that you had to do that you've never done before on the set? I don't know whether it's like with the with your faces, but having to go like really crazy with them, or with the low lighting. Was there anything like other than like those two things that you have never really done that like sticks out the most to you?
Yeah, I would say all the faces, all of the craziness going from normal to crazy really quickly. Um, the scene with like, try not to spoil anything, but the girl in the
If
bathroom
you
with the
do, I mean
claw.
that's okay.
Yeah, The girl in the bathroom with the jaw, if you know what I'm talking
Yeah.
about.
Mm-hmm.
Like doing all of that stuff was different. I had never done. This was my first, like I said, first villain in a horror film. So most of the time I've been the victim. So I'm the one that's
Yeah.
screaming and running and scared. So it was fun to be the opposite. And yeah, so that definitely was a challenge, but excited to see, how it all came together in the final product. Yeah, it was interesting. Pierre was really great at directing and telling you how, you can go further, with this. Because, of course you can't see what you're doing
Yeah.
as an actor until you see it. So he was really great with that.
Yeah, I can imagine doing that, and I'm sure you were probably doing those faces for multiple shoots and for long periods of time. Like my face would be sore. Were you sore at all during any of this, or were you kind of like okay, like done it a couple times, so I'm okay with like having to hold my face like that for minutes or
Yeah,
however long?
the dog gets a little tired, but it's fun. It's fun seeing how far you can go with it. How far can I make this facial expression go, and then how creepy can I make it? And yeah, so it's something you don't want to do 100 takes of.
Yeah,
But
I can agree on that. I wouldn't want to either.
Yeah.
But now you can work in haunted houses and scare everybody. You can be a witch in there now and just do those faces, and you're good to go.
Now your character Masha.
Yeah.
Did you like automatically just like connect with the character after reading like the script, or like did you kind of base like her personality while you were filming based off any past characters you played or your own personality, anything like that, or did?
Yeah, it's interesting because as when I read it, I didn't immediately like, oh, I relate to her.
Yeah,
as far
yeah.
That would be crazy if you did.
Imagine.
being a witch and being crazy and but it's interesting as an actor, you can't judge your characters, right? So we're all the hero of our own story. So
Exactly.
It's interesting finding what I do relate to in her, and I can understand her loneliness, her need to be seen, her wanting to be like someone else that gets the attention that is.
You had to approach it a little differently than you normally would.
Right. So it's like I understand those aspects of her. So then I can find my way into the character that way. And then the rest of it is imagination and what it would be like if you did have powers. And I don't see myself as a villain, right? Like Rebekah understands that Masha is not a great person. But as Masha, like I don't see that I'm the villain.
You see yourself as the good guy.
Yeah.
I'm doing
living your life.
Yeah, to survive. So so that's a great question. It's an interesting process when you're playing someone that is so far outside yourself. Someone on Twitter in one of the reviews compared it to Carrie, which I love.
I was reading that too, and definitely I can see a lot of that in your acting and everything, especially how it was very Carrie-like.
Definitely an influence for me, for sure. Because I will never probably get to play her. So
hey, you never know.
Kind of, I guess yes, you never know. But
after this.
But follow up too. And do you have any like routines that you follow to help you like get into your roles, or like do you just study the script, or do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. Every character is different. Some are easier to slip into than others.
Yeah.
I do a lot of writing. I keep a journal of a lot of thoughts of the character, what's going on. I do actor stuff, do all my homework of who I am and what do I want, and all the kind of boring stuff that other people might find boring, but is really great, interesting for us. I don't have anything I do necessarily every character. It's more what the character needs in that time, and what like for SVU, for example, even though we're not, this is about, just helps kind of as an example. She was a character that was neglected and wasn't fed regularly. So eating as Rebekah was like precious. So it's like different things kind of help me along with the process based on the character and what I'm doing. So yeah.
Yeah, that's something I've always like wondered is like how actors get into their roles. I know a lot of people like
So I've
doing
heard like Heath Ledger used to be super.
yeah,
Like
like
he was like
super
sitting in a hotel room and just like pretend
yeah,
to be the Joker or some shit
just
like
stay in
that.
character the whole time, or like they latch onto something that they've read, or and they keep on to that, or if it's like something part of them that just comes out in the film and whoever they're playing. So I'm always really intrigued of how other actors you know, get their role going. So that's really interesting to hear that you do like all these things in the background, like all your research and everything, and you're trying to do everything you can to relate to this person, like you said, not really hate who you're trying to be, because obviously that wouldn't be good at all. I feel like I don't like this character at all, but I'm gonna play him anyway, you know.
Right.
So yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah, I'm definitely not method in the fact that I stay in character
Yeah,
all the time. If it's a particularly emotional scene or difficult scene, I will stay in character until that scene is done. But I'm not at lunch still.
Yeah, eating
I don't know.
babies.
all about
Because I've
that.
come on to sets as a guest for quite a few shows. I'm like, okay, I'm coming in as kind of for those TV shows as kind of a guest at Thanksgiving. So it's not my show.
Yeah.
This film was different, but I still am like, I don't know, that's just not me. It just gets too exhausting for me as
Yeah.
as an actor to stay in that same space. But I totally respect actors that do that. That's
Yeah,
incredible.
that's some crazy stamina, you know, with your mind and everything, and like staying like that for so
It's like
long.
having a second personality, basically.
Yeah, you pretty much have to treat it that way, and
But
hopefully
Yeah.
you can shut it off at the end because you're that person for so long. You know, I would be so afraid to be stuck in that character my whole life if I
imagine.
were to be like that. But I'm sure they've been trained well enough to know how to like get out of you know whatever character they're trying to be. Like, ev- I'm sure that they went to school, or I know there's probably
Mhm.
some actors that were like self-trained. I don't know what it's like in like the world now with actors, because I feel like not a lot of people are going to school for acting anymore. Is what I've been seeing. Like a lot of like TV show stuff. A lot of people are just picking up like people from like YouTube that have been like doing YouTube stuff for so
Yep.
long, or like influencers. So it's such a weird escape now with
Yeah.
everything. I know you've had like your theater, and you went to school, and you started like in I think it was like 2010, right? It's like when you really started going kind of like full bore with like movies and
Oh, yeah.
everything.
Mhm.
And I think since then it's changed a lot. So that must be something that you probably run into sometimes too, right? On shows, and like people that may have never really been to school
Or
or anything
acted.
like that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. Different things work for different people, for sure. For me, I always remind myself that at the end of the day, the craft will outlive everything.
Yeah.
Just being a really good actor when you're in your 70s is, will outlive what is popular now. I think, there's a feeling, a need to focus on social media and the presence and TikTok and all that. While I have a TikTok, I don't use it very much yet, but it's all
Same
fun. I
here. We
really
have one
enjoy
and we're barely
watching
on
them.
it.
I really enjoy watching them, and I'm there's so many talented people on there, and if they can, there are plenty of trained actors on there that are finding their way that way too, and that's
Yeah.
great. But I think that if you don't have that training, if you don't have, even if you didn't go to school but you just trained in an acting studio, I think if you don't have that, eventually it won't last forever. If
Hmm.
that makes
Yeah.
sense,
I guess I can see that. Yeah.
because there's only so much you can rely on your instinct.
True.
I think
And that's
for
why you
some
stop
people.
hearing from, actors so often now. They'll do a few movies, or like musicians, for example, they'll release an album, and,
Yeah.
I feel like, um, pop culture, or just like things come obsolete so fast now. It's kind of
Yeah.
crazy.
The world moves extremely fast. Like
People get
everybody's
over
always
things very
looking
fast.
for the new thing. You know, it has to be new and it has to be now. And this movie is definitely something new that I don't think I've ever seen before, and I enjoy it, and I hope that you'll be doing more stuff like this. I don't know if they'll be doing another one of this. I hope they do because of how the movie ends, and I want to see you in it. I want to see you in it somehow. I don't want to
Well,
spoil
tell us here
anything.
that. No.
Yeah, I don't want to spoil anything, but yeah, it'd be really cool to see you do more things like this on this you know world of like fairy tales, because it essentially is built off like the fairy tales and everything, just kind of twisted into more modern and more creepy. And they definitely did a great job, and you did an amazing job on your end. And I want to see more of that, Rebekah. I want to see the crazy side. More villains, please.
Yeah, no, I would definitely love to play more villains as well. It was because I think I'm probably more easily cast as the victim, so maybe people don't always see me as the other. So it was fun to be able to show that side.
Yeah, let's go crazy.
Might even open up more opportunities now that people see it, you know?
Yeah, I hope so. I really do. Is there anything that you're working on now that you could tell anybody about? Or are you kind of just laying back a little bit and just relaxing since you've just done this huge thing and with TV shows and everything?
Well, a bit of both. I'm currently working on a sci-fi film called The Other Kind. I can't really reveal too much yet, but it's kind of about a town, a small town where people mysteriously start disappearing.
I like that already.
So I can't really reveal anything else.
That's fine. I was just curious to see if there was anything that was in the works. So that's good to know that you're actually still out there working and not, having to stay at home or anything like that, depending on where you are and how bad it is with the pandemic and everything. So it's really cool to see you.
I'm in Los Angeles, so it's
pretty active.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I have another film called Los Angeles, which funnily enough, that is coming out November 20th.
Okay. I'll definitely keep my eye out.
Yeah, the opposite genre. It's not a horror film. It's an adventure story about I play a mute that goes on an adventure with an escaped convict. So
that's a very interesting concept. I will keep my eye on that, and hopefully everybody listening will be keeping their eye out for that too. And we'll post updates and everything on those as well, because I'm interested.
Yeah, I'm excited for people to see that one as well. It's different. Like you said, it is a very different story, and I play a different character. A good person this time.
Yeah, it's really cool though, because sometimes when people get casted into horror roles, they only stick with horror, people only want them for that specific genre. But you're everywhere: TV, comedy, action, horror. That must be really cool to kind of have a foot in every area, not just stuck in one thing and rehashing the same thing. So that must be a little relieving on your end to know that you're not just typecast into just horror movies.
And that you have options.
Yeah, I try. I play. I say the very unique, unusual. All of my roles, pretty much all of my roles so far, have been in that category of strange and unusual. Even if they're good people or bad people, that kind of fall in that category, which I love. And it's been great to be able to find different characters that I love in different genres and different film or TV. Like Station 19, I played the bad guy, a girl that robs an ambulance, so looking for drugs. So
my fiance loves that show, and and
yeah,
when I said that you were coming on, she was like, "Oh, she's going on. Oh, that's really really cool." So she's gonna be listening to this after, because we watched that show together, and that was a brutal episode.
Very much so. Yeah, but it was so fun. I loved being able to. It's crazy to say that being able to play that kind of character on a TV show and explore that side of addiction and I'm very conscious of that these are real people. That real people go through these experiences and
kind of have to be,
Yeah, but it's fun to get to play so much outside of myself.
That's true.
Because I like to think my life is pretty normal and boring. So it's fun to play these crazy characters that are not just everyday life.
Yeah, I agree, and I hope that you continue on with all the TV shows as well, and obviously build better with bigger movies and more horror and more everything. Just I want to see you blow up more after this film, because I feel like once everybody else really gets their eyes on this, they're going to be like, whoa, I've seen her in other stuff, but this movie, like, I did not realize she could do that, and that's how I was too. I was like, wow, because I when I was watching the movie, I was like, wait a second, she looks really familiar to me. And then like I was thinking, and then I looked it up. I was like, oh, okay, it's Rebekah Kennedy. I've seen her in Season of the Witch and on Station 19 and some other stuff. I was like, I didn't realize that she could go to this extreme, and it's really cool to see. People kind of go out of their limits like that and really show people that they're much more than just what they see in everything else.
Thank you. I appreciate that. It was definitely a challenge, but a good challenge.
Yeah, for sure, and it definitely paid off, and I can't wait to watch this another 5 times over the weekend.
Well, that means a lot to me because you never know how a character is going to come off to an audience.
Or translate to.
Yeah, even though you were playing a bad character, I still really enjoyed your presence on screen because it was very dreadful, and you're like when you're in the scenes, something is going to happen, especially when things start like kind of going a little bit crazier, and you start doing other things that push limits, and you can tell too because like the film starts off kind of bright in the second act, and it kind of gets darker and darker and darker as it goes on as you're transitioning. And I like that a lot too, is being able to see the darkness really like go over the light.
Yeah, we talked a lot about that, about the transition from normal Masha to becoming the witch that she is.
Yeah.
How that would look physically as well as the environment and all of that. So that was fun to play around with and see how we could portray that where it would be show everywhere, if that makes sense.
Yeah, exactly. And once again, everybody who was a part of this film, I think they did an amazing job. And everybody that was like in the theater watching this, they loved it too, and everybody was excited. And I think a lot of people were blown away because there was a lot of good questions that people were asking too. But yeah, I want to see more from Pierre too, because I think he said he was working on some other stuff. I don't know if it's anything to do with this movie, but I think he said that he was in the middle of writing something else. But I'm gonna reach out to him after this because I would love to get him on here and pick his brain even more with like more directions and everything.
Yeah, he's great. The cast was great. Everybody was really fantastic to work with, and especially when you're making such a different film and kind of a balls to the wall.
Oh yeah.
That, everybody was willing to really go there, which is awesome. And it's one of those where you kind of just have to like just jump in head first.
Yeah. Anything else you wanted to ask Aaron?
Kind of off topic, but
sure.
Have you ever had any like bad experiences while filming over the years? Like, is there anybody you didn't get along with, or
all the bad stuff?
Not my list. No. Not at all. I've actually been really, really blessed and lucky to have worked with amazing people on pretty much everything.
That's good.
Yeah, and like going to Nicolas Cage, who was lovely on set, and made sure that I was okay. And we were filming in August in Louisiana, and if anyone's ever been there or lives there, it's miserable. It's horribly hot.
I could imagine.
And wearing, the garb we were wearing,
yeah.
And he was constantly making sure that I was okay and that I wasn't getting dehydrated, and just really kind, and didn't know me at all. So it was really
that's awesome.
Yeah,
we love Nick Cage. We love him. Such a great guy.
Awesome. To Mark Singer, I worked with in House Hunting, who would always give 100% even when the camera wasn't on him, which was really helpful for my character since my character was mute in that. I say mute. Her tongue was cut out, so she couldn't really talk. But
that's a movie I have to revisit.
Right. He, even if it was my shot, he still gave everything. All of the actors did. To SVU, who was amazing. I mean, I can't even say enough nice things about them. Station 19 as well. Like criminal. I mean, everyone. I don't know. I've just been really lucky that there hasn't been like divas and people that won't give you anything to work with, and they're there when you're giving your lines, and they want to make the best product possible, and everyone's there to do.
That's good to hear. That is a lot of positivity.
It all starts with the crew and the group of people that you're working with.
Yeah.
If nobody gets along, then you're not gonna have a good end product.
Yeah, you're gonna have to just work with it and hope it comes out okay. That's good that you're having a lot of people to hold you up and kind of let you be yourself,
support each other
and support. So that's really good.
Especially when you're doing roles like these. If you don't have a good support from the cast and crew, it makes it that much more difficult because you want to feel safe,
Yeah,
to be able to go as
it's like
far as
number
you
one,
can.
being safe.
It's like any
Yeah.
business, like you want to keep your employees happy, otherwise, and they'll give you the best work.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, and yeah, absolutely. Yeah, yeah. I'm just really lucky that
That's
everyone's
good
been
though.
amazing, and I hopefully continue to have the same, same experiences in the future. Because yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, everyone just hopefully wants to make a good
Make a good
movie or
movie
show
and
or whatever it is, and it's much easier. It's much more enjoyable to work with people that want to be
have
there
the
and
same end goal. Yeah.
Yeah,
and
for
be
sure.
there and want to help you as you help them.
Exactly. Just lift everybody up. Everybody will be equal. That's one thing that a lot of people, kind of nowadays, like what we see, just in like not like in movies and everything, but there's a lot of people just bring a lot of people down for no reasons, and it's really good to hear that there's still people out there that like to lift people up and keep them on the same level and not push them all down, because
With
no
so
one
much
wants that.
negativity in the world now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we need more positivity. But one thing I did want to ask too is, was there anything in this film, whether you were shooting it or if it was like a different part of the film, that stood out the most to you? Whether it was like anything that you did, or it's like another actor or a scene, anything that maybe not spoiling too much of anything, but anything that like really stood out that you're like, wow, that scene was crazy, or like how they just did that was like mind blowing.
Um, that's a good question. I really enjoyed working with Christina a lot. She was really fun to play with, and I would try to freak her out as, as much as possible, as the character. And she was a lot of fun to play back and forth. I'd say the beginning scene was pretty intense, if you know what I mean. Uh,
Yeah,
you're kind of like, hi, nice to meet you.
yeah,
Let's
yeah.
pretend to
I
have.
can. Yeah, that scene was probably really crazy for you. I can imagine.
But the actor Jacob, he's incredible. He's really incredible. So
That's good.
he's really easy to work with, and was like, just do whatever you need to do.
Yeah,
So yeah, um, yeah. I mean, I'd say probably the teeth scene was pretty fun to film as well. And I got to work with my friend Lindsay as well in the movie. So
that's awesome.
yeah, so yeah, there was a lot of fun. That was one thing about this movie, is like most of the scenes were crazy, some had some crazy element in them.
Yeah, it's
So
like no
it was,
chill.
yeah, so it was like, okay, where is this going to go? How can we make this even more fun? So yeah, I'm excited for everyone to see everyone's work, because they really put their all into it.
Yeah, and like the showrunner for Salem Horror Fest, Kay, like she wasn't joking, because she was talking a lot about this film. It was like, this is gonna be, because it was on the opening night, like Two Witches. Make sure you guys go see this, because it's gonna be absolutely crazy. And she was not lying. I wasn't sure what I was getting myself into, but once it started going, I was like, okay, this is a ride, and I'm ready for it. And I loved how it was like, different acts, and then everything kind of came together at the end. And like there's like an after credit scene that people need to sit down and watch. They kind of warned us to sit back, hey, don't leave. There's stuff
I don't
after
need
the
to run
credits.
away.
So yeah, it's a super fun film, and this is definitely, out of all the movies that we saw, there was a couple that stood out to Aaron the most, but this one, and there was one other that stood out the most to me, and this, I think, kind of beats the other one, just because of how crazy, unique, um, very, it's a dark movie. It is pretty colorful, and I like that a lot. I like colors in my film. And another thing that this reminded me of, which is kind of weird, is Suspiria. Even though like that's a completely
Yeah.
different movie and whatnot. I mean, that obviously has to do with witches and stuff, but just like with the colors and just how some of the acting is, it reminded me a lot of that. And that's Aaron and I's favorite like Italian film. And this definitely reminded me of that. And I'm probably gonna have a double feature on Friday of doing Suspiria into this, and then just see how it all links together. I enjoyed it a
Yeah,
lot.
I'm sure that was a influence for him as well. So that's
Yeah, it
awesome.
makes sense. Definitely makes sense.
Yeah. Well, thank you. I mean, that's so nice to hear that people are, liking it. I know it may not be for everyone. It's definitely a specific film, but to hear that people are enjoying it, and that's just wonderful to hear.
Yeah, I'm sure there's going to be a lot more reviews come out once, more people see it and whatnot. So be prepared for more people to reach out to you to talk about this film. Yeah.
I love it. I love to, that's the fun part too, is getting to talk about the film and how enjoyable it was to work on, and to be able to promote it and to push everyone else and how great
Exactly.
they are.
I don't think I have anything else that I have to ask. Is there anything that you have left on your mind, Aaron, that you would like to ask?
Yeah, I think I do have one more actually.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
so what's it like after finishing a movie? You see the finished product go out, and like you just knowing people out there are seeing something that you helped create. You know what I mean? Like, what's that feel like?
That's a good question.
That is a good question. It's scary at first. I never know what it's gonna look like right after, so you see it for the first time.
Yeah, of course.
And how it's gonna all come together, and if you're gonna like what you did on screen as an actor. But then once it's out there and people are watching it and enjoying it, even if they don't like it, it's awesome. It's an awesome feeling because you worked really hard, the cast worked really hard, the crew worked really hard, and to be able to have it go out and people see it, whether they love it or not, it's
all
awesome.
Feedback is helpful.
All the exposure. Yeah.
Yeah, it's why you make the movie, right?
Yep.
We don't make movies that just sit in our basement. So we hope that, we hope that they'll be able to be released and for people to be able to see. And so yeah, it's an amazing feeling to be able to see the hard work pay off.
Yeah.
Because there is so much hard work that goes into making a film, and it's a miracle when it gets finished, to be honest. Because
films are magic, and I've always wanted to make a film, but I'm not good with like writing or anything. I'm kind of writing something right now for like the podcast. I'll be like intertwined with it, but nothing like super big. And just knowing that there's so many people out there now that are picking up cameras and making films,
throwing something together.
Yeah, and having that ambition and being able to put something onto the screen and make it into one thing and not just a jumbled mess it's amazing.
Yeah.
And I thank everybody who does do it, because I don't think I would ever be able to unless I like take like a year off of everything and just focus on learning how to make a film, because I would like to do that at some point.
Yeah, it's a lot. From the writing, is hard enough, to raising money for it, to hiring good actors, to good crew, and I mean, little piece is so important and can, make a film good or not. So, having it be finished and actually come out is amazing, because it's a miracle.
Yeah, literally.
For sure. Yeah, so I'm excited for people to be able to.
But it's definitely nerve-wracking at first, though, not knowing how people are gonna react. I'm sure.
Yeah, I would be nervous too.
I would be.
Yeah, because there's always going to be people that don't like it, and that's
there's always But like I said,
it's a subjective art form that it's okay. There's something for everyone, and not everything is for everyone, and that's okay.
Yeah,
not everyone has to enjoy everything.
It's true. It's true. As long as I had fun making it, and that's what.
And you're proud of it.
Yeah,
and
I mean, that's what matters at the end of the day. Like, you liked it, you enjoy it, you had a lot of fun. If people like it, then that's amazing. That's like a plus. But like, you did something that you put like your heart and soul into, and really tried to bring what you could to the screen and to show everybody what you can do and push your limits. And I'm sure you're going to continue to push your limits and get even crazier with all these other things, and we're definitely here for it. But I think that's pretty much all that I have to say. But go ahead.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, that's one thing, like you said, when you're saying pushing, like when I read the script, I was like, oh my God, this is so amazing. So much stuff I've never done before, and really get to push myself. And Pierre is awesome and helped along the way so much with that. So that was definitely one of the big reasons I wanted to do the film. And I'm glad that some of that, worked.
Yeah. And I can't wait to see other stuff that he does. But if there's anything that you wanted to add at the end of this, if you want to talk about anything else that was during the film that you wanted to point out for anybody to keep an eye out for, like if there's something that we should be looking out for while watching the film, like if there's anything
Easter eggs or something.
Easter eggs in there or anything like that you may have put in there with your acting or anything crazy like that.
I don't know if there's any Easter eggs, but I just want to commend the cast and crew, obviously, but the cast for being so amazing. I worked with Danielle Kennedy, who plays Rachel's mother.
Yeah.
at the end. This is my second time working with her, and she's
Yeah, she did really good in this too.
Yeah, she's incredible. And just to get to work with people that I knew and worked with before, and Christina and I had been wanting to work together for so long, and so we finally got to do that. It was awesome. Yeah, I'm just excited for everyone to see everyone's work and how it all came together. I don't know that there's necessarily any Easter eggs that I know of.
Okay.
Yet, but hopefully there will be more of these films to come.
I hope so. I want them to tackle more like fairy tale stories and just kind of twist them and make them more modern and crazier than like how they are. Because yeah, these films they're crazy. they really are. And yeah, I think that's pretty much all that we have. Rebekah, thank you so much for coming on and sparing like 45 minutes to an hour just come and talk to us.
Yeah.
And being our big milestone, I'm sure that's something that's probably making you happy as much as it's making us. And I can't wait for everybody to listen to this and go watch Two Witches. And make sure I'll be putting a link in the bio also to buy the virtual passes so everybody can actually go and see this. Because on Friday, I think Thursday night at like 12, I think is when it starts going. So technically, Thursday, but Friday, everybody can watch it until the 31st, I believe. So that's really, really cool that we have pretty much like a whole like week and a half to go and watch all these films again and watch this one again because I gonna grab some popcorn, get a good drink, and watch this again and be immersed. So
amazing. I love that. Thank you. And hopefully it'll be released wide soon for more people that didn't watch it at the best.
Yeah, I'm going to be following that story to see who's going to be picking it up or if they're going to be doing independently. Regardless, we're going to be getting it, supporting this as much as we possibly can. But yeah, thank you so much for being here. It was definitely a pleasure.
You guys are amazing, so thank you so much.
Thank you. We probably sound a little nervous, but that's just because we're trying to get all of our questions together and perfect,
You guys are awesome.
Right. And I'd love to have you on again at any point, just to come on and just talk horror if you want. It doesn't have to be about anything you're doing, and if you got the time to do it, we're definitely here, and you are welcome. You are now part of the family. So
I would love
that's
that.
awesome.
Absolutely love that. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And this was the Baron's Hideout podcast. I was your host, Dustin.
And I'm your co-host, Aaron.
And that was our guest, Rebekah Kennedy. Thank you guys so much for listening, and we'll catch you again soon.